Hi, welcome back or welcome to my channel. If you're new, my name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. I don't know if this video is going to see the light of day. It might not. I have not decided. I guess we will see eventually if this goes up or not. But I figured I'm going to start my Pan Those Eyeshadow series December 1st with the anticipation that it's going to not be my priority project next year. Now, I do want to focus on what I've been calling to myself a study of my eyeshadow palettes for the majority of 2023. I feel like through panning eyeshadows and doing Pan That Palette and doing Project Level Up and doing all of the things, I have lost touch with what is in my collection and what I like in my collection and what these palettes bring to my collection. And I am honestly exhausted when I have to make a decision on what eyeshadow to use if it's not something I'm panning. And yes, subculture is still kicking it, and I think this is the culprit of why I'm having so much fatigue with my eyeshadows and fatigue with being creative. I think it stems from trying to pan flippin' subculture for over 2 years now, and she's still kicking it. So we are going to try to put subculture on the back burner. I will eventually finish those shades, but she is not going to be a priority for me. My priority is going to be, again, rediscovering my collection in its entirety. Now, I'm not going to limit myself on palettes. I am allowed to bring palettes in and out of my collection if I want. However, I would really, truly love to have used a palette before deciding to declutter it, or if the thought of using it causes me stress, it needs to go. There's no business. There's no way. There's no business here to get stressed out over makeup. That's something you're supposed to be excited and happy to do. There's no room to be stressed out about it. So I'm going to randomly select. I'm only going to do 4 eyeshadows. It's not going to be a crazy huge project. Again, this is not the priority project, but I do want to use my eyeshadows. And I think I'm going to do this the style that Alexi initially started. Alexi's the creator, by the way. I don't know if I didn't say that. But the way that Alexi intended this project to actually be is you randomly select a palette and then you hand pick the shade in it. And I think that's going to help me out a lot this coming year in focusing on shades that I truly actually like and can kind of create color stories in these palettes together. So I'm going to pause my camera because it's about to overheat, and then we will be back to select shades together. So my camera has cooled down. I have my palette app up. I'm going to use Tiny Decisions. I like this because I can buy palettes, add them in, and then change the weight, and that basically means if they're going to be able to appear in the wheel in the selection. And I can set it to 0 if I haven't actually received them yet. So I'm waiting on 3 palettes to arrive from Sugar Drizzle. I did buy on the Black Friday. It was the only Black Friday purchase I made was that and tights. Anyway, so I added them in here, but I don't have them yet. So when I do have them, they're already ready to roll. But let's pick 2 palettes to start. So I'm going to hit the wheel a few times and then just wait for it. What are the odds of this kind of color stories? This is very subculture color story. So we have the Kaleidos Sci-Fi Green palette as well as oh, these are very grungy, very grungy. So if you are unfamiliar with what the Kaleidos Sci-Fi Green, or the Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green palette looks like, because they discontinued this, and it's a shame because this was one of my favorite this is my favorite color story. The Fantasy Cosmetic Druid palette, which is another really beautiful grungy palette as well. So we have those 2 palettes. Let's pick 2 more. Now, we're going to just hit the button a bunch of times again. Ooh, this is exciting. All right, why didn't I grab the other 2 and then or the other 1 now? Why did I? Ooh, I'm not excited about that. I don't want to roll that in. So I'm not going to. That is a very summer palette to me, so I don't really feel like rolling it in right now. No, that's a lie. That is the Morphe Sour Patch Kids palette. Josh got me this for my birthday last year. He got me the Sour Patch Kids collection from Morphe, which is very nice of him. I just don't really reach into a palette like this, but there's some really pretty shades. Like Watermelon Woe here is like this really pretty coral shade. I doubt that I'm going to pick that one, but let me mull over my choices. Did I even show you what the Unearthly Cosmetics All I Ever Wanted palette looks like? This is one of the palettes that I'm so excited about. Lots of duochrome, shifty, beautiful shades. I think I already know which one I'm going to pick, but I'm going to look at these palettes, open them up, and then kind of look at them together and figure out what shades I want to actually pan. So I have figured out the 4 shades that I want to pull in through these various palettes into a pan those eyeshadows that I think I would be successful at. And I'm not going to lie, it's very shimmer heavy because I am, 1, more successful at panning shimmers than I am at panning mattes. 2, yeah, I picked the shades that I thought I would enjoy. First thing first, I believe I pulled my Kaleidos Futurism 1 Sci-Fi Green palette first, and this palette is so my exact color story. I love these kinds of shades. I have them time and time again, as you've seen with Subculture. The Druid palette's very similar. I have the Natasha Denona Safari palette that has a lot of these grungy mattes in it. I have a lot of these shades. I have a lot of like olivey greens. I love olivey greens. They're one of my favorite eyeshadows to wear. So because of that, I am going to pick one of the shimmers that's one of my favorites in my collection that I don't give myself the okay to use often, and that is this guy here. This is called Glamora. It is so pretty. It is so pretty, and I'm super excited actually to get some use out of this. It'll go really well with shades from both the Sci-Fi Green palette as well as the Druid palette. It's kind of like an olive gold green. Like it's so pretty. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a neutral, perfect everyday green eyeshadow for me. Like this is like a true neutral kind of eyeshadow in my opinion for me. The second palette that we picked that was randomly generated. I shouldn't say we picked. The second palette that I ended up getting was the Druid palette by Fantasy Cosmetica. This was their first palette. This is probably my favorite formula for their shimmers that I've tried. I don't like the squishy formula shimmers as much. They tend to crease on me occasionally. However, this formula in here is so beautiful. It's more of that traditional like ultra metallic kind of shimmer, or like the duochromes that are in here. This green is the one that it's so beautiful. I'll show you like a finger swatch of it. So pretty. I'll show you maybe. You can see the difference in the tones though. Like one is much more like goldy green, and then this one's like very true bright green. I love that shade, this one, so much, but I don't want it to compete for a spot for that one. So I'm actually ending up going with, I thought about this one, but I think it's a little bit too dark. I don't think I'd get as much use out of this as I think that I'm thinking I will. Did that make sense? So I'm going to go with Bare Form, this guy here. I've really been enjoying this kind of shade on top of the matte orange from Subculture. So I think that I could pair this with either Subculture or with the some of the shades that are in this Futurism 1 palette, or even just like build a little matte palette to accompany these with. That might be really nice. Maybe a couple shades that I think are missing from this little quad of shadows that I'm bringing in. But yeah, I'm going to bring in Bare Form, which is that guy there. It doesn't have that much use. I went through a phase of not really liking these kinds of shades, and I'm currently in a stage of my life where I really like neutrals a lot more. Typically in the winter, I gravitate a little bit more towards neutrals than any other time of the year. So this is a perfect time as we're getting into the Christmas season. I'm wearing a lot more like red lips and stuff like that. So it's going to be a better time for neutrals for me. So I'm excited to get some use in this palette. The All I Ever Wanted palette, I bought a few Unearthly Cosmetics palettes back in September, and they ended up coming in October, and I wanted to take them with me to Las Vegas when we went, because to me, I was like, I just want like my staple mattes and like a lot of like exciting shades to pick from, like a lot of shimmers to pick from. So this palette is really, really fun. It's really colorful and bright. It's exciting. It has a lot of things to pick from, a lot of really beautiful shades. Ooh. Now that I'm saying that, like, do I want to switch? No, I'm going to stick with what I said initially, or what I picked initially. I really love the shade Amalthea. That's been something that has taught me how much I like pink eyeshadows. I do, because this has an orange base and a pink flip. I've been using it with my Subculture, but I know that shade is almost gone in Subculture, so I don't want to pigeonhole myself with a shade like that. So instead, I'm going to pick this shade Sphinx. It's like this beautiful, like peachy to like icy blue green duochrome. It's got more of a squishy texture, so I don't think it's going to take that long to hit pan because the texture of it is quite malleable. So I feel like if I use it regularly in the same area, I can hit pan pretty darn quickly. But that is it there. It's so stunning. Like, hopefully you can really see the shift of it. Like maybe that bottom shade right here with that like icy blue to over here where it's a little bit more, hopefully you can tell, more like, again, this is one of my newer palettes, so it's almost like, I don't want to do it, but I know ultimately I want my palettes to look used and I want my palettes to be used. I've used every shade in this as well, and every shade is beautiful. Then the last palette was that Morphe Sour Patch Kids palette that Josh had gotten me for a birthday last year, I want to say. Now, there's a lot in here. There's a lot of color. Like this bottom shade Sphinx, I think would look really pretty with this one. However, I don't want to set myself up for failure. I really want to set myself up for success this year. So I'm going to roll in a shade that's like a gimme shade, because I know I can hit pan on it and I know it will happen eventually. It might take a little while. But that is going to be this guy. That is White Pineapple. It's just like a flesh toned blending out shade. My camera's overheating again, so if it dies and things change a little bit, you'll know why. But this is just a tidying up, blending out shade. I don't really set my eyeshadow primer, or I don't set my base down at all, but I do use these kinds of shades to blend my eyeshadow out, especially when if I use color and it gets a little bit out of where I want it to be. I do use these shades to clean up and tidy up my eye looks. So I don't think that it's going to be a chore to use this. I think it's going to be pretty easy to use it, if I'm being quite honest. And Morphe pans aren't super deep. The pans can be hard pressed and it takes a little while to hit pan. So maybe now I'm saying that, I'm like, ooh, did I make a mistake? Should I have gone a shimmer? It's fine. I know I can hit pan in those matte kind of cream shades, and I'm excited to have this palette out to use in tandem with some of these like shades, especially again, that shade Sphinx. I think a lot of those shades in the All I Ever Wanted palette will go really well with the mattes in this one, and I'm excited to get use out of this palette as well as all of those other 3 palettes that I rolled in. So this is the full color story that we're going to be working with for the next month at least, probably a little bit longer than that. I don't think I can hit pan in all 4 of these within a month. I can. I know I have been able to before, but these are shades in my collection that are very new, very not touched, not very loved, even though I do love the shades of them. But that is it for my Pan Those Eyeshadows introduction for the new year. We are starting it a little early again, just to give myself a little bit of a heads up, since this project is not going to be my priority. I give myself also complete creative rights and complete freedom to roll things in and out. If it's not working for me, I do not care. It's going to get rolled out. There is that kind of caveat. And maybe if I hit pan in a shade that isn't in this project, I will still roll the palettes out, just because the ultimate goal is to use my palettes in their entirety. So we will see how things evolve in this project as we kind of get into this project a little bit more. But I'm actually really excited to use these 4 palettes. I haven't been excited to do my eyeshadow with anything other than Subculture in a very long time, and it's going to be a breath of fresh air using palettes that I haven't given myself permission to use as much as I want to. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you guys for enduring my long hiatus. Let me know projects you're planning on doing in the new year. Let me know anything that you want to know. I am going to work on getting better at commenting and replying and just being better around here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It really does help me out. Come join the cutie family. And then I will see you guys in my next video. Until then, I hope you guys are staying healthy, sane, and safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye! Update on Bandit currently. It is the 6th of December, and we've had to put socks on his little feet because he's been nibbling his little tootsies. But I will say, adding the socks onto his feet has already helped him from limping as much, plus he's on a sedative.